This one takes place back in 1977 about a recent high school graduate. We'll call her Marie. Before heading off to college where Marie would study nursing, she got a summer job at Mount Eden Hospital, where she would work the graveyard shift on C Ward. Marie couldn't believe her luck landing a job at a hospital right after graduation. They even gave her a uniform. In Marie's mind, it was as if she was a nurse already. Everything was coming up roses for Marie until that night. While she fancied herself a nurse, truth is, Marie was actually a glorified security guard. You see, C Ward had been vacant for over 6 months. In fact, most of the hospital's patients were gone, as they had been slowly moved to a new facility across the way. Marie's job was to sit on an empty ward in the middle of the night, making sure hoodlums didn't get in and vandalize the place. If by chance someone did get in, she was to pick up that black phone at the nurse's station. Her supervisor, a Miss Turner, assured her she would be on the other end. It could have been lonely up there on C Ward all by herself, but Marie passed the time making the rounds, checking the empty beds, reading pretend patient charts, and handing out imaginary medication as if she was caring for real people. Marie felt as if she was on top of her game. On the night in question, Marie had just finished her first pass at rounds. She sat back down at the nurse's station, pleased with herself. Everyone in her care was healing nicely. She turned on her radio and discovered it was on the fritz. With nothing to keep her company, Marie fell right to sleep. She was awakened by a hard slap across the face that jolted her out of slumberland. Marie's eyes popped open. She looked up, face still stained from the intense slap. She was fully expecting to see her supervisor, Miss Turner, looming over her. But nobody was there. She looked around, her eyes scanning the darkened corridors. The place was as empty as a desert highway on a Sunday afternoon. "Hello?" she called softly. "Miss Turner, is that you?" There was no response, just a deathly silence, and then she heard giggling. A child's giggle echoing down the darkened corridor. Marie's heart nearly leapt out of her chest, her pulse quickened. The overhead fluorescence began to flicker. Marie was getting more frightened by the moment as the reality of working in an abandoned hospital in the dead of night began sinking in. No more rounds for her? She did not leave the nurse's station for the rest of the night. However, by the beginning of her next shift, Marie had convinced herself she'd been dreaming. Working at a hospital at night had made her hear things that weren't there. She loved her job and was not going to let an overactive imagination put a damper on things. As soon as she got in, she grabbed her clipboard, anxious to make sure her patients on C Ward were doing okay. She hustled down the hall, and the moment she pushed through the heavy swinging doors, she knew something was wrong. Something was very wrong. C Ward stone floors were now covered in crude, childlike charcoal drawings of children. There was also one of a nurse with a frowny face and X's for eyes. Marie looked at the drawings on the floor, and it was clear to her that hoodlums had gotten onto C Ward and were vandalizing the place. As instructed, Marie marched back to the nurse's station and picked up the black phone. Miss Turner answered on the spot. When Marie told her of the vandalism, Miss Turner said she'd be right over. 30 minutes later, Marie was escorting her supervisor directly to C Ward. Now here's where it gets creepy. When they arrived on C Ward, The drawings Marie had seen on the floor had vanished. Marie explained to Miss Turner that there were indeed drawings there a short time ago. She told her about the children and the nurse with X's for eyes. But she may as well have been talking to the deaf, because since there wasn't a trace of chalk drawn, or any sign that there ever were drawings on the floor, Miss Turner did not believe her. Miss Turner warned Marie that the last person to pull these kinds of shenanigans was fired, but she had a soft spot for Marie and would forgive her youthful prank just this once. And with that, she said goodnight and cautioned Marie not to use the black phone unless there was a real emergency. The moment she was gone, Marie made a beeline back for Seawarp, where sure enough the floors were bare. She knew there was writing on the floor earlier and that either vandals were still there and had removed it, which didn't make any sense at all, or there was something spooky going on. As she was exiting the ward, the soft sound of child-like giggling drifted over to her. She recognized the giggle from the previous night and realized the sound was coming from a darkened corridor she'd only ventured down once before. D Ward is down there, and D Ward was locked up tight with a heavy lock and fit chains. Marie went back to the nurse's station where she grabbed a flashlight. Then, conjuring up a huge dose of courage, she ventured down the corridor towards D Ward. As she moved into the darkness, a chill sprang up out of nowhere. It got so cold Marie could see little white puffs of breath. It was as if she was suddenly in winter in that corridor. As she approached the swinging doors to D Ward, to her surprise, the lock and chains were gone. The beam of her light shined on a placard above the swinging doors that read, "Children's Ward." Marie knew without a doubt that the giggling and the drawings were the work of the ghost of a child. And then as she stood there, the doors to D Ward began slowly swinging open. There, standing before her in the darkness, were the specters of 13 children. One of them, a girl of about 11, took a step towards Marie. "We've been waiting for you," she said and smiled. "We've been waiting for you for a long time." The girl continued forward, took Marie's hand, and the moment she did, Marie knew. Marie's body was never found. Some say she ran off. Others say something evil got to her. All I can tell you is the next person to work the graveyard shift reported the sound of children singing, coming from D Ward. Those children were being led and saw by an 18-year-old almost nurse who found her calling on the crossroads.